Welcome, everybody, to the Party of Two podcast. We are not at the theme park today. We are at home planning out our 2019. But for now, I am one of your hosts, the Internet's Mark B. Donica.
And I am your other host, Andrea Donica.
Welcome to this episode of Beyond Blue Sky, where we're going to take a look at all the stuff in 2019 and tell you what our top three choices are. We've got stuff from all over the country, as well as, well, there's some stuff that's happening around the world that we're not... That isn't necessarily pegged at 2019, but we're going to talk about. There's a lot of roller coasters because
so many.
As we've realized with our newly minted Cedar Fair passes,
Woohoo!
There's a lot of other parks in the area, and also with a lot of the various. What I've got a grumble in my grumble. There's a lot of smaller theme parks that have a lot of big followings that we're just not akin to because we're next to three of the biggest in the world.
We're Southern California babies, but we might be wandering outside of our usual theme park zone and exploring what the rest of at least the U.S. has to offer.
Yeah, and there's one that was very interesting that we're going to talk about. A lot of people seem to be trying to compete with Galaxy's Edge this year.
Which is great.
By trying to keep people in their respective state. And there's one in particular that I found really interesting. So we're going to run through a lot of this stuff, and we're going to go pretty quickly. We've got some official descriptions, and so things may sound a little bit more fantastical than they are.
And imagine, if you will, that we have our dining table covered in different theme park maps from all over the U.S.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And we also have a U.S. map, and we got all these different multicolored pins figuring out where we're going to go next. We're planning our 2019 attack, as it were.
Attack, jeez.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of a war zone. I guess I'm also gearing up for the finale of Game of Thrones, so I've also got that in my mind too. I wish there was a theme park of Game of Thrones now. That would be, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
An HBO theme park. Now that would be something.
A little bit. It would be a little spooky, but it's an adult. Well, I mean, I wonder what it would be.
I mean, not Skinamax.
No. That's Cinemax. But I believe we all know what we mean. Ahem. But let's get started with some of these. Some of these parks I've never heard of, which is fine.
Same.
We're expanding our horizons here. That's the whole point of everything. There's one more thing I forgot to put on the list, but I will as we're going.
Okay.
We've got the Phoenix coming to Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa, which is a dizzying. A lot of these roller coasters come from a USA Today article that I found, just to give credit where credit's due.
Neat.
Phoenix and Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa is getting a dizzying spinning coaster that will climb 50 feet and hit 40 miles per hour. That's the shortest and the most succinct description that I've found. The Kentucky Flyer is coming to Kentucky Kingdom in Louisville, presumably Kentucky. A relatively mild wooden family coaster. It will drop 45 feet and reach the top speed of 35 miles per hour. With a height requirement of 40 inches, the ride will be accessible from a fairly young age.
And that are fairly brave.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to read everything.
Well, I mean, come on.
Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California is getting Batman the Ride. It's described as a 4D free fly coaster, and just looking at some of the photos, it looks like X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Yeah, and it's going to include inversions and beyond 90-degree drops. That sounds really intense.
Yeah, and it's the similar. What makes me think that it's just an X clone is the main drop is the fake out dip, and then the main one, and the ride vehicles have the guests fanning out on independently spinning wings. So it makes me think that's more Batman the Ride than the Batman the Ride that we have. And if they just rethemed X2 to be Batman, though it wouldn't necessarily, though X2's
not in the right place.
No, and the theming for X2 isn't correct anyway. But that's coming to Vallejo, California.
X2 has theming?
That's the problem.
Okay.
Well, it's you get music. There's a variety of rock music that plays when you go, but you don't get control of it. Similarly to Guardians, but it's not as dynamic. Tidal Twister is coming to SeaWorld San Diego. It will appear that two trains will be barreling toward each and narrowly averting each other. In reality, the first of its kind, Tidal Twister, will feature two sets of cars mounted on one long train that will span the entire length of a 320-foot horizontal figure-8 track. Passengers will face both forward and backward, and the train will travel both directions as it revs up to 30 miles per hour.
Sea mammal abuse not included.
No, just regular mammal abuse. Tigress coming to Busch Gardens in Tampa. It's the tallest launched coaster in Florida that will impel its train forwards and partway up its track where it will stall and roll backwards. The second launch will keep it moving backwards partway up the opposite side of its giant loop. Tigress's third launch, 3 launches, but it's a 150-foot loop which will invert at the apex. The apex inversion loops are starting to become more of a thing.
Yeah.
We did it at Knott's on, was it Hang
Time?
Hang Time. Hello. Charlotte, North Carolina at Carowinds is getting Copperhead Strike. It will do 2 magnetic launches as opposed to a chain-driven lift hill. Chains are expensive, and when they break down, it takes a lot in order to fix them because you have to get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanism. As opposed to a launch, it's kind of just you have to fix. It's either a power issue or a magnet issue instead of chains. It's a lot less to fix.
Every time I think of maintenance and construction for roller coasters that are fully exposed, like a lot of the ones that we're talking about now are, I think of all these poor maintenance workers that have to climb up ridiculously high places without all that much safety around them and having to fix it on site in that same spot. If anyone out there is listening that has that tough job, I salute you.
And we'd like to talk to you.
Yeah.
Contact us at Party of Two Pod.
And tell us maybe what the freakiest maintenance job you've ever had was.
Well, that's another thing. By having all of these launch coasters, that gets mechanisms out from the top of a lift hill. Everything's down closer to the ground. Maybe not necessarily right on the ground, but it's definitely a lot closer than these 150-foot lift hills and more that we're getting.
Yeah.
So it's a good safety issue. It's a rush, and it can help technicians feel a little bit safer.
Yeah.
That's nice. An unnamed Eurofighter coaster and record-breaking spinner coaster will become a part of the Nickelodeon Universe indoor theme park coming to the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's a lot. Yeah, these two coasters are going to be big, but the Eurofighter one is going to have a view of the Manhattan skyline. How nice will that be for the 5 seconds you're in the air before you plummet down the overbanked drop at 121.5 degrees, the steepest coaster drop in the world.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And there will be another coaster that intertwines with the Eurofighter. I don't know why it's a Eurofighter type coaster, which I'm not as familiar with that model, but I guess we have some research to do.
I guess so.
Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland near Toronto. It's going to be the world's tallest, longest, and fastest dive coaster. Yukon Striker will bring the passengers to the precipice of a 245-foot, 90-degree drop, then let them mull it over for a few agonizing moments, then dive down at 80 miles per hour before bottoming out in an underwater tunnel.
Wow, yeah. That's intense.
Yeah, Canada's Wonderland seems to be going for some world records like Six Flags used to be.
Yeah. Well, hats off to them, and definitely don't wear a hat on this ride that's coming up.
No, I think they'll force people to put stuff away.
Well, yeah, except for like the one jerk that's like, no, I have hat
fine.
hair.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm that jerk. Steel Curtain is coming to Kennywood near Pittsburgh. Now, this one's kind of cool. Like, there are a lot of licenses for rides that are usually movie related or TV related or music related when it comes to certain parks. But there will be a Pittsburgh Steelers themed roller coaster coming to Kennywood. Perfect place for it. Absolutely perfect place for it. It's going to punt passengers 220 feet in the air and rush them 75 miles per hour before setting them topsy-turvy with 9 separate inversions, which will be the new North American record for inversions in a coaster. One of the flipovers will be a corkscrew at 197 feet. Will also lay claim to the world's tallest inversion. Wow. Yeah. It's going to be a lot. And I'm all of that stuff, despite how it kind of makes me, I'm interested. I'm interested to try that out. This next one seems interesting. Max, with 2 X's, Max Force at Six Flags Great America near Chicago is going to have a compressed air launch system, which will catapult its trains from 0 to 78 miles per hour in 2 seconds flat. The quickest acceleration of any in North America. So that's the thing is all of these roller coasters are trying to break all of the records so that they have a little bit of extra advertising thing to see, and it gets that much more intense. Like, have you seen the coaster in, I think it's in China, where it takes you up the lift hill and then the patch of track that you stop on lifts and does a straight down drop? Awful.
If you could see my face right now.
I mean, you can kind of hear it in your voice. But it's rolling up to nothing. And then the brakes being the best brakes and going full straight down.
That sounds like Santa's inversion the other week, but more intense.
Yeah, not as bad as that. But I don't think there will be a day when that happens in the United States unless it's very, 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 very safe. And I don't think it will be a Six Flags that does it. The last one that we're going to talk about in this category is the West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. Hey! Using electromagnetic propulsion, 2 trainloads of passengers on opposing tracks will rev up to 55 miles per hour on a straightaway and chase each other on a course filled with inversions, pops of airtime, and overbanked turns. After an indoor pit stop, during which the famed car builders from West Coast Customs will cheer riders on, the trains will take a second lap, but on opposite tracks. The 3-minute experience will include 14 near-miss crossings.
Sweet!
That's dangerous. That's very dangerous. But a 3-minute ride time for a roller coaster is big.
Oh, wow.
It's big because you essentially get to ride it
Thank
twice.
goodness they're only doing 55 miles per hour because there's only so much that the body can take at once.
Sure. And it doesn't say how many inversions, but also with those near misses, they're making a street race coaster.
Yeah.
So
it's really cool.
This would be like a Fast and the Furious equivalent, but
which is a much better execution of Fast and Furious.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for this one. Yeah. I'm really surprised at the couple of things in here that made me go, "Huh, okay, all right, maybe." All right, let's move on to some other parks around the world. Wildwood Grove at Dollywood. There is a new land coming to Dollywood.
Woo!
In case you weren't planning a trip to Tennessee, we're getting a family-friendly land,
which is nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Something for a little bit of something for everyone. The middle of the land will be in the middle of the land will be a 55-foot tall wildwood tree covered in brightly colored leaves and decorated with butterflies. Parton's signature flourish.
Yay!
Yeah, and they'll be lit up each night. I think
so pretty.
Yeah, I can imagine that whole setup to be pretty dang cool.
Yeah, and we've just kind of left the holiday season, but I'm sure they're already planning how they're going to decorate that for the holidays too.
Yeah, the way that they expanded from just for this winter season that we saw and we talked about on a previous show makes it essentially confirmed that they're planning something even bigger for next year.
Oh yeah, hands down.
And by waiting for the spring to launch this new land, they're giving themselves time to be accustomed to the new flow with it, so that by the time Christmas comes around, it's going to be fun and crazy.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of things coming here. We've got the Mad Mockingbird, named after Tennessee State bird. The ride flies around a tree at the giant tree at high speeds, the riders can control their experience. Don't know what that means. Excited to see what that means.
Yeah.
Treetop Tower. Riders can get a bird's eye view of the Wildwood Grove while riding in giant acorns that spin at the top of an oak tree. Black Bear Trail. You ride on ride on a black bear and take a scenic tour of the woods.
That's like the dream, isn't it?
Yeah. They're all real bears. I don't know if that's true.
No.
The Sycamore Swing. It's the swinging boat ride. That's it.
But a giant leaf.
A leaf. It's a boat ride.
Okay.
Frogs and fireflies. Guests can hop on the back of a frog and chase others around lily pads. Don't know what that means.
I'm really curious to see what this looks like in execution, because when I was reading this over, I'm like, this is not Frogger.
It seems like this whole thing is like Fern Gully. So you're getting a little bit of a Fern Gully. You're being shrunk down to the size of like you're being right in there with all of the forest folk. I just imagine these giant mechanical frogs that hop from place to place and are very unreliable. But the heart of this land will have the Dragon Flyer, which is a family-friendly roller coaster that takes riders on adventures along with a dragonfly. There's an indoor play area, splash pools, and a whole bunch more. It's Wildwood Grove. From this report that we found, is going to be about $37 million to build, and $1 million alone is being spent on landscaping, and that's according to Lonely Planet. I'm excited to see how this looks.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. Actually, I'm really eager to potentially plan a visit to Dollywood specifically to see this.
Yeah, no, Dollywood just in general. That's one of the smaller parks on our list.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Something that we didn't really hear anything about because it's not necessarily on our radar. Lego Movie World is coming to Legoland, Florida. So they're reimagining the world of Chima Land that was there to be Bricksburg. And it's going to have 3 attractions in total, 2 new rides and 1 reimagined. They're reimagining the Quest for Chi interactive boat ride. I don't know what sort of, if at all, kind of a boat ride, what if you all ride on a double-decker couch?
You might. You might.
Oh, that would be sweet. Or can you imagine like a Soarin'-esque ride where the ride vehicle is a double-decker couch?
I mean, that would lend itself well.
And you look up and you see Lego legs, or that's where
Lego legs.
So you go on a ride with Emmett and his friends, and so you sit down, and right before the ride starts, you see on the upper level of the couch like Wildstyle's legs or Unikitty's legs.
I just want to see Unikitty. That's all I care about.
Something like that. That could be fun, so that you're all sitting on a couch together like pals, and it sort of books it together. But we don't know too much other that it's opening up in spring. And then there was one other land that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Nevermore. We know that their spring I'm trying to
their spring fling.
I'm trying to type and look up at the same time because I totally blanked on it. But they have a new story coming up for spring. I forgot what it was called. I think it was revolving around Norse biz.
Really?
Yeah, I remember us talking about it. But I don't remember where I found all of the. Here we go, seasons. Oh, it's just they took it down. Maybe they're just bringing lore back, or maybe they're changing. They had something for the spring that I had remembered, but right now Aurora was the wintertime event that they just finished, and lore was the fall event. But I wonder if they're still working on the third one. Maybe they're renaming it, they're redubbing it something. But I guess we'll have more on that later. So let's talk about our parks. We've got, from Knott's Berry Farm, we're getting a revamp of Bigfoot Rapids, which made me sad because Bigfoot Rapids was always really fun.
But you don't see Bigfoot, so why call it Bigfoot Rapids?
Why change the name and put Bigfoot in it? That's what I want to know.
Well, we never got confirmation that Bigfoot is actually going to go into this.
It was in the concept art. Here we go. Let's read this.
Okay.
This is from Knott's.com. Knott's popular Bigfoot Rapids whitewater raft ride will undergo a major renovation with the addition of new features to the attraction, including new animatronics, themed show scenes, a new story overlay, and plenty of dynamic water effects. The arrival of Calico River Rapids is one of the many exciting experiences that Knott's guests can enjoy in 2019. Speaking quickly of those other events, the rest of this press release was just like
all of Knott's stuff.
They're like in-park events, like no new attractions or this or that, but like Peanuts Days or a Scary Farm or the Boysenberry Festival, which we'll talk about because, dang it, I guess we're going this year.
Oh, we are, and multiple times. And they're doing it for a whole month now.
And now we don't have to talk about it because that was all of the news. Okay. Calico River.
I'm just really excited.
I know.
I've been wanting to go to the Boysenberry Festival for years, and now we finally get to do it.
We got to find our way there. Calico River Rapids will take voyagers on a search for new land through the outskirts of Calico, the richly themed area in Knott's esteemed ghost town. Guests will journey through the authentic setting with the help of legendary frontiersmen who have plotted the path for settlers to explore. Rafters will encounter a variety of wild surprises along the way, such as roaring rapids. That's another boat ride. Indigenous wildlife, and peculiar homesteaders. The circular ride, which fits six passengers, will traverse through unexpected twists and turns, rushing waters and rapid currents as it navigates the unexplored river path. The attraction will come to life with new animatronics and special effects designed and manufactured by Garner Holt Productions, the world's largest designer and manufacturer of animatronics for theme parks. Now, in this press release, there is a photo of a large Bigfoot, so to speak, Sasquatch.
And we're not sure, and we're positive that it's not just like a really tall, overgrown, hairy man, right?
It's larger than a man?
Larger than a man?
It's larger than a man?
Do you have a photo for me to see?
Well, I'm trying to talk while this is happening.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to find this picture that you're Oh.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
They did show this picture from the get-go. It reminded me so much of the Yeti from Expedition Everest that I kind of put it out of my mind and associated them being the same, and they're not.
Yeah, no, it's a big old squatch.
I hope that he scares the pants off of people.
I hope so too, but probably not. Well, I hope that I love Knott's, and that's putting it very heavily. I'm a fan of Knott's. There are some things that they don't do as well as the competition.
Oh, sure.
But dang, do they certainly try. So, when it comes to humanoid animatronics,
oh, they're terrifying.
They're not that great. So
that's why I love them so much.
So I'm excited to see what they can do with a non-human animatronic.
Yes. And the fact that there's also going to be some other cute little furry creatures as well, kind of scattered about.
Gonna be squatching. We're gonna go squatching. In spring, the much-anticipated Knott's Boysenberry Festival returns with countless one-of-a-kind boysenberry-inspired food and drink offerings created by the Knott's culinary team. Each year, the menu ranges from delicious sweet desserts to zesty, savory dishes, plus tasty beverages bursting with tangy boysenberry flavors. Unique entertainment, I assume berry-flavored entertainment, and an array of artisan berry crafters round out the Berry Festival. Due to the festival's increasing popularity, it will be expanding to a full month of deliciousness from March 29th to April 28th. That's right in the middle of fair season, though, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Right? We're going to be busy. And then in the summer of 2019, the fan-favorite Old West adventure will continue with the return of Ghost Town Alive, as a new storyline set in the town of Calico is unraveled for guests to discover starting May 25th through August 18th, and weekends from August 24th through Labor Day, September 2nd. During Ghost Town Alive, guests may return to the streets of Calico and experience an authentic Western adventure by becoming a star in the day's evolving storyline.
Yeah!
As they unlock adventures through interactions with the townsfolk or by joining in on the town's activities. And as night falls, even more summer fun will continue throughout the park with new entertainment offerings. Also, Knott's Scary Farm and Knott's Merry Farm to round out the rest of the year. it's gonna be big.
Yeah.
Speaking of big things, how about dinosaurs? Universal Studios.
Woohoo!
Universal Studios California. I totally forgot as we were building this list. I was like, oh yeah, that thing that we did an entire show about. Jurassic World is coming to the park in 2019. Journey to where living dinosaurs roam the earth in the part expedition, part heart pounding high water ride based on the blockbuster films. So the only thing that we've seen from construction here is that the original big opening scene is now undercover. And I wonder how much of the ride is going to be indoors.
I wonder as well. I kind of felt like a lot of it is going to lend itself to being indoors, just from the Jurassic World franchise that they've created. I don't know. I'm really excited to see the changes. I'm hoping that not all of the original dinos are going away, though. I still want to see some Brachiosaurus, some Triceratops, etc., etc. Oh my gosh, the baby play area. That's the dream. That's the dream for me, at least.
Well, there's a lot happening in that particular area of the park. And when it comes to construction, that I think that entire line from Jurassic Park all the way to where the new lot is being brought up to Transformers, all of that, if they could just go a little bit further back, there could be some really interesting things. I wonder what I want more outdoors, or rather I want a different outdoors.
Yeah.
But how is it going to change? Because you can't just reroute. You can't just make a new flume path. The ride's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
From the boats, and everything's going to be the same, and how it feels is just going to look different, and it's going to be a new experience. And that ultimately, it's similarly to what I did after the Rockin' stuff left, where I just put the ride soundtrack on my iPod and listened to it while we were riding it. It was great. So if you just have, and I'm sure they exist, you can find a pure audio file of the ride and just press play at the right time, close your eyes, you're back there.
Yeah.
You're back on Isla Nublar.
Yeah.
Because I want to say Isla de Muerta, but that's not what that is. That's a different one. And thank you, Al Roker, for saying it so weird that it sticks out in my mind. Maybe we'll get an update on Florida's Isla Nublar or whatever it is with Universal's Fantastic Worlds.
Yeah.
Maybe. So speaking of Florida, speaking of Orlando, something I didn't hear anything about until we were researching for this episode is the replacement for Terminator 2 3D has been kind of discussed and worked on. No signs of anything from the outside, and everything is rumors at this point, but they announced that it's going to open up spring-summer 2019.
Well, I mean, Universal, if it's not as big of a deal, they're like, we're going to just do this on the sly and not really talk about it too much. I am not quite sure what's going to lend itself best. The rumor is a Jason Bourne live action show.
Yeah, stunt show.
And I feel like they've already missed the boat on that. I feel like they could use something that's maybe a little more current.
The last Jason Bourne movie came out in 2016, so it'll be about 3 years since. I don't know if there's another one in production, but Universal likes their action movies.
Oh,
so
sure.
If they just made it arguably the names get people in. Like the brands get people in,
sure.
Arguably. But if you go action movie stunt show featuring real stunts from the Jason Bourne movies, Atomic Blonde, or any of the stuff that has come out within these past couple of years that really, from Taken, from whatever, and you list sort of like animal actors, but with people.
No, but you know what? That would lend itself so much better now that you're saying that and I'm thinking about it, because that really is a pinnacle of so many Universal films.
Mm-hmm.
They really should have a show like that just keeps updating itself, that we keep seeing new stunts or simulating that scene from that film, etc., and keep changing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. They already have for the special effects, they already have for the animal actors. It would make sense for them to do something for a stunt show that's a little more generic, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that would be nice. I think it would be smarter that if they didn't tie it directly to one franchise.
Yeah. But the problem is as I mentioned, when it comes to Universal, it's especially this brand, this ride, go, go, go. Like, that's all that Universal has been. Like, Disney has created their own adventures and has since gone into the branding of it. But with Universal, it's not fight for the future, a Terminator 2 experience. It's Terminator 2 3D, fight for the future.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, Minion Mayhem would be enough, but it's Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem, et cetera, et al. Even just
Jurassic Park, the ride.
That's it. Transformers, the ride. Backdraft. So there's always going to be a brand attached, though. Animal actors, action actors, like if you make the show's brand, then I think that could be something fun and interesting. But it also looks like, from a lot of the photos that have been taken of the studio, they're bringing back the theater, because right now they only worked essentially on a proscenium until they rode into the screen, and then the screen was the rest. So they're building out behind the screen so that there's more room for people to play, it seems. And there's a little bit more room because they don't have two screens to do the rear projection of the movie. And I'm excited for it, whatever it is, because it's going to be interesting.
Oh, sure.
And I'm a little sad. There's a friend of the show who used to be an Indiana Jones in the Indiana Jones stunt show, who's got a great Bourne look. And actually, you can currently see him as one of the many. Why can't I think of it? Psycho. Norman. He can see him currently as one of the Norman Bateses at Universal Studios Hollywood. Mikey Christmas Kalinowski used to be an Indiana Jones, but if they're doing a Bourne thing down there, he could have done it in a second, because he's got the look. And one of his first Schmoedown entrance song was the first Jason Bourne theme song. So it's like, okay, there's a brand familiarity there, but that'll be interesting. It's sad that Terminator 2 3D isn't around anymore. I hope that Universal releases it, or it's a part of. I'm sure it's on a Terminator 2 collection. Similarly to how Back to the Future, the ride, is on the Back to the Future collection, and you can watch all of this stuff. Yeah. Hey, so what's going on in the Forbidden Forest?
We keep waiting to hear an official announcement, and Universal is still being really tight-lipped. But it's opening this year, and they've been full steam ahead with building. I've seen different rumors from different websites, etc., of different pictures or different things that they've heard. The most recent thing that I heard is that the trains themselves are going to be looking like Sirius Black's motorcycle, which is also what Hagrid rides in on with Harry from the beginning and later on in the series. I'm wondering if they're maybe going to do the escape from the 7th film, where everyone is supposed to look like Harry to ward off all of Valdi's baddies.
Here's your jumper. Get in the car.
It's one of the best sequences, actually.
Could you imagine if, before, one of the magic things that they do before you actually go is you quote see yourself
as Harry
polymorph
Potter
into Harry Potter.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. It would be something. It would, in effect, they could do it to where it's sort of a crossfade of a. This is technical talk that I hope people can understand. A crossfade of an alpha channel where there is an invisible layer that you can't see that is mapped to the outline of your body, that then uses that outline to fade in the popping and glasses and everything of Harry Potter as it happens. Possible. It might look weird. Again, we're not talking from any sort of experience.
No, absolutely.
But if you could do that, and did everybody look like Hagrid, or not every? It was okay.
No. Everyone was supposed to look like Harry,
and everybody just went off in different places. That's right. Okay.
Exactly, because the idea was that with Harry coming of age, his protection at the Dursleys was going to be lifted because he is considered an adult in the wizard world. So, Harry, you're on your own now. Good luck with that.
I gotta kill him.
So
we have next to no information other than some photos. The track is all set. The show buildings are in place. We saw the ride vehicles, and now we just kind of wait.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah.
And one of the main other things that we're going to see at Universal this year is the construction of Super Nintendo Land. It's not opening this year. It's opening with the Olympics in 2020. But with how fast they're clearing the lot in California, and from the original announcement, it opens in Tokyo first, but it opens in California next, and then Florida after that. So if they're just prepping everything and priming everything, there's a lot to do.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot to do. So excited that that's happening. Oh, and there's also the Globe Theater replacement, which we don't know about either. It's rumored to be a Secret Life of Pets attraction. Now that the whole thing with Louis C.K. has gotten taken care of, and it's now Patton Oswalt that is playing the main character, it's not necessarily as tarnished of a brand as I claimed earlier in the run of the show, but I don't want it to be that.
Yeah, neither do I. I feel like it's done. Granted, I haven't seen either film.
The sequel's coming out later this year. So to launch the sequel and be like, and you can go on the ride right now. But I think it would be interesting as to why they would make that a California exclusive, you know? It's weird. All right, let's talk about the big D in the room. Let's talk about Disney. Now with Disney. In Disney Springs, I found this one randomly looking around. We're getting an NBA experience. It is a basketball-themed attraction that will feature dozens of interactive activities, including trivia games, a replica of the NBA Combine, a slam dunk challenge. Get me there. I want to be there. And more.
I'm really curious where exactly this is going up, because immediately when I was looking at this, I'm like, is this the nephew of ESPN Zone / Disney Quest?
I think if it's gonna be, if you need multiple courts, if you're trying to replicate the Combine, you need space. If it's a slam dunk challenge, that's a different floor than a regular court, you know, because if you're telling people we're going to help you slam dunk, that means whether it's trampolines, safety floor, all sorts of things, and waivers galore that you'll need in order to do it. That rhymed, thank you. But they're going to need a lot of floor space. So I can imagine this being in the Disney Quest building 100%. And the outside's already there. You just clear it all out, and you Matterhorn it by putting a couple of basketball courts in it, and you call it a day. Depending on the cost, you know, I'm not an NBA fan. I like basketball. So if there's a cool thing that you can only do there that's really interesting, yeah, I'm all about it. All right, let's talk about Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, which is going to be a Hollywood Studios show, a car show, stunt show that's going to be, what was it? Was it Lights? It was Lights something action? Lights, racing action, lights, whatever. It's replacing the old show that was at Hollywood Studios with Tomater, Cruz Ramirez, and the gang from Radiator Springs rooting him on. Lightning gears up for his challenge. Okay.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway. Lightning demonstrates what he's learned over the years by using his brand new state-of-the-art racing simulator and its wraparound screen. What? We can take pictures with Cruz Ramirez? We need to watch Cars 3. I say need. It can't be as bad as Cars 2. Cars 2 was awful. Speaking of Disney Hollywood Studios, they're celebrating their 30th anniversary. So with that, they're also going to be throwing a party called Stage 89, an unofficial celebration of Walt Disney World in 1989 that you're going to have to register for. Also, of course, the Skyliner is coming that year, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be opening up in place of the Great Movie Ride. And I'm excited. It's Mickey and Minnie, for goodness sake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's about time that they get their own ride.
Damn right.
It's only been
90 years.
Well, I mean, in terms of theme parks, though.
61 years.
Yeah.
60 what? No, it's been more than that. It's almost 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, thank you. But speaking of celebrations, we're getting their party at the Magic Kingdom and at Disneyland proper. And the Disneyland is getting Move It, Shake It, Mouse-ka Dance It street party. We're also getting a nighttime celebration, not necessarily a fireworks celebration, but a big projection party up and down Main Street. And there's a version of it in Hong Kong that we're supposed to be getting a lot of it of.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked for it yet?
I have not.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's probably better in person, but it's ultimately fine. And it'll be something that the kids will love. I bet the parents will be looking at the castle waiting for something to happen.
Sure.
Probably nothing will happen.
Great.
But with this projection technology, you can have the party around the entire park. Because at least for us here, you can have it in the mall. You can have it at the Rivers of America. And you could probably expand it further.
Oh, yeah.
Just not to Galaxy's Edge.
Nope.
Woo. That's the big thing this year. Galaxy's Edge coming to California and Florida. Hoo boy. We know we're getting 2 attractions. We know we're getting a cantina where you can only drink inside. That cantina. And I wonder what they're going to do with food. Because it was kind of unceremoniously changed at Pandora this year.
Yeah.
Where the main sort of Na'vi menu is like, we do rice bowls. You want a rice bowl?
Apparently, though, the food there is really quite good and fresh. People have been coming out saying, this is actually one of the better food options at Walt Disney World Resort. Granted, Walt Disney World Resort doesn't have, per se, the same level of options and freshness and caliber that Disneyland Resort has.
Sure, but also the Animal Kingdom food,
Oh, yeah,
way
absolutely.
Different. Way different.
I
don't know how they
deliciousness.
Did it. Don't know what the difference is with like a couple of acres away. It's like, this is theme park food. But
it's Joe Rohde, man, because he went.
Thank and blame Joe.
Don't blame him for anything.
It's good blame.
He's a wonderful, wonderful human being.
I love his style.
Me too. I like his giant earring.
Yeah.
I would use plural because he has different ones, but he only wears one.
No, he has different earrings in one ear. That's what it is.
He's so cool. He was all about being really culturally thoughtful and appropriate for
Authentic.
Everything that the cuisine had to match as best as it could. Even the more Americanized spots to eat there were also really good. That one barbecue area.
Yeah, did you ever think you could love a sausage? You could enjoy a sausage?
I knew I could enjoy one.
Okay. Still like I love that poster.
It's so funny.
Yeah. With Galaxy's Edge, I wonder how long the pure Star Wars experience is going to last before it starts getting into, we'll just serve Earth food.
No.
All
you know what? I think they're really going to stick to it as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, is they are going to have to invent things specifically for the land, because besides blue milk, there's really nothing... Oh, and the self-rising bread that Rey eats in Force Awakens, there's really nothing really particular. Oh, and then Anakin feeds Padme like some weird fruit pear thing.
No, I think it was just pears.
I think it was. It did look like just a pear.
That's the thing, is you don't see people eating in these movies.
Yeah.
But one of the things
too busy to eat.
One of the things about Batuu being a port city or a crossroads city is you have people cooking
different types of cuisines
for everybody who comes in to make them want to come back. So they can't. This is such a good idea, but they can make stuff from the snowy planets, from the foresty planets, from the desert planets, everything. And while it may not be something that you have ever seen on camera, it could be something. It's something that reminds you of those places.
Yeah.
As opposed, so for the people who just Hoth is the snowy planet of choice right now, but if this was something that the Rebel soldiers used to make on Hoth, and a lot of the other planets have picked it up as well, something like that.
And what makes me also really excited is I know that they're going to create a backstory for every single thing that they're putting into this land.
Including
so that's going
you.
to include the food and the drink. And
DJ Rex.
I'm wondering, I hope Roxanne is able to visit him too. His Disneyland Paris girlfriend.
Oh, the arcade keeper?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
With the cute high-pitched voice who declares how brave and smart Rex is. I don't know if she's still there now that they've done the update, but
we'll look. We'll look when we go back. But
whenever the heck that is.
We're super excited for this one. We don't know when we're gonna go because it's gonna be an absolute madhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tentatively blocking off time in my mind that we're going to find out, and then we're just going to try and get in the car and go.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's also going to depend on passes, etc. Because right now we don't have all of the passes back that we want. Disney being one of them, but we're working on it, and we're hoping that we can take you along with us. Sure. The other thing too, though, is with Galaxy's Edge and everything happening with Disney, they're now blocking off certain entire parks for an extended period of time, depending on your pass level, etc. And part of me has wondered if it's better to get multi-day tickets, but I don't know if we can hold out as long as that, because that is a very long time for us. And also, we would be missing out on our minor dining discounts, which never is great. But yeah, it's hard. There's so much happening this year. We have to properly stagger it. And then also, what's not on this list is D23. D23 is this year in Anaheim, and that's going to be at the end of August. And that's going to have its own
madhouse,
its own craziness associated with it.
I can easily predict that that's going to be the busiest weekend at the park. That
Probably.
Coupled with D23, coupled with Galaxy's Edge, it's going to be a madhouse in downtown Anaheim.
It's going to be rough.
It's going to be crazy. But, well, I wanted to save the best for last, because with Disneyland opening Galaxy's Edge, California Adventure has to step up. They have to put something out that can rival the amount of the amount of people that are going to be coming into the park. So naturally, what they decided to do was to finally finish Pixar Pier, and that's it. Ugh. We haven't talked about it on the show, but the Bing Bong character finally showed up, and it's the Bing Bong from the parade, and that's why we had to wait, because the parade was still running.
That really annoys me. Gosh, it annoys me so much.
That's a little frustrating, but we're going to be getting the Inside Out ride, which is a reskinned Flix Flyers
carnival ride.
What is it? It's the Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. That's right. And then Jesse's Carousel. Jesse's Critter Carousel is going to be opening up too. Great,
another
cool, fine.
cheap ride.
Yeah, but I'm just sad that we missed it. Like the animals on the Triton Carousel were so interesting, and now it's like we're getting with carnival games, how you get sort of like the cheap knockoff looking thing.
Yeah, and that's what we're getting. At least there's consistency in the area, but I am a little disappointed with that. But I'm more irritated than anything else that it's still not done, and we're waiting for it to be finished this year. And
that's right,
it's not. It's not going to be anything that I feel is worth waiting for. It's not anything exciting. It's like, great, here are these 2 throw-in rides that were technically already here, just in different places and in different themes and looks. When I was hearing about an Inside Out ride coming to California Adventure in the Paradise Pier area, I was really excited for what that could be. It could have been something really special, a really fantastic dark ride that would have been fun for the entire family. They could have done something really special with it. And the fact that all they're doing with the property that is Inside Out is this cheap carnival ride really disappoints me. I really feel that Disney can do so much better, especially with that space. They'd been holding off on that area for the former Maliboomer for so long, and I know Imagineering was talking about doing something more substantial in that spot. And this is what they're doing. And that disappoints me. I'm so excited for Galaxy's Edge, thank goodness, but don't pretend that Pixar Pier is really going to lighten the load on the crowds. It's not.
It's not going to I would say, if anything, it's going to lighten up that area a bit. Like, it's going to make the Pixar Pal Around a little bit shorter, and it's going to make Midway Mania a little bit shorter, but not by much.
No.
I think if there's any place for an Inside Out ride on Disney property, it's in Epcot. What a better place for an internal physical look at the body and at sort of emotions than that pavilion.
Well, you know where the idea for Inside Out came from, right? It was the former Cranium Command that was in Epcot, which was also previously inspired by an old Disney mini animated short back in the
Symphony?
50s, 60s. It wasn't a Silly Symphonies.
Okay.
I can't quite remember. But when Pete Docter saw Cranium Command and was like, hey, this would make for a really cool full film, a full story. And meantime, Disney has, of course, just let Cranium Command sit there and
get stolen.
Then Buzzy and his friend just get stolen. And I found out today, reportedly, poor Buzzy, before the rest of his audio animatronic body was taken, first his hands were decapitated.
Ooh.
And his clothing was removed.
Sounds
so
like
he was assaulted and made naked. And then just taken later. And we still don't officially know if the main audio animatronic was stolen or if Imagineering has taken it in or whatnot. But for a police report that was filed that has finally come to light, it does mention that the hands and the clothing was missing. So, interesting developments on Buzzy. Buzzy, I'm so sorry that you have been assaulted in such a cruel way. I have never known you except in old YouTube videos, but I hope you're safe and can get back home safely.
But that would be the perfect opportunity for everything to become full circle and put an Inside Out right there.
Absolutely.
But it's time's ticking, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like Inside Out, while it is it's similarly to what we were talking about with the Bourne thing. Just jump on these. And take the risk because you own the IP. You don't have to pay anything for it. You're just kind of reskinning something and just give it a shot. Like you kept trying to make it work with Alien Encounter. Why don't you think? Because then imagine if you take...
Well, that was all Eisner.
So that area had a bunch of like carnival game type things, right?
No. Actually... what was the pavilion called? Shoot. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it had everything to do with the body.
Yeah. Something of Body Pavilion? Was it the Body Pavilion?
No, I mean, I think Body was in the name. I would know this if...
Wonders of Life.
There we go. The Wonders of Life Pavilion. It had all of these really different things, different aspects of the body, the wonders of life, how we think, how we interact, our body processes. That's where Body Wars was originally. Before we had Star Tours, that was our first incarnation for something like that as an attraction. Too bad it made everybody sick and nauseous.
Just like the
Making
of Me made everybody sick and nauseous, but for different reasons.
But they had cute little interactive areas. I mean, the majority of the pavilion wasn't per se big blockbuster attractions, but Body Wars was one of Epcot's first thrill rides, if I'm not mistaken.
The film was directed by Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, yeah.
So how about that?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Shue was one of the starred actors in it.
And
Jan Matheson.
that was a really important pavilion for all of Epcot to kind of step things up and make things a little more exciting.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's been in this weird stasis of half abandonment for so long is unfortunate. And it would be really nice to see Disney give that area some love, especially with all of the work that they are doing on Epcot. The fact that nothing was mentioned for that pavilion disappointed a lot of Epcot fans and a lot of just in general Disney fans. I think that Inside Out has a little more staying power than the Bourne series, at least in terms of people who are going to visit Disney parks. So I think that they still have some time, but they really shouldn't wait too long on it either.
Yeah, it's running out. I don't think we're going to get Inside Out 2.
No.
I don't think we should, rather, even though Pete's one of the leaders over at the studio these days. He's always been one of the more, all right, let's do another one. Let's do a different one.
Yeah.
And so I think there's time left, sure, but that's the place to do it, and clock's a ticking. So those, I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that we may have missed. I know there's some stuff in France. I think the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride is opening up this year in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Don't necessarily know. There's a lot of stuff coming out, but what? Now I'm gonna do this to you. We pick 3, but we're picking 2, 3, and 4 because number 1 is Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
So now we're picking 2, 3, and 4 on a top 4. let's do that with no particular order. Just 3 things from this list that you're excited for.
Okay. I'm excited for the Dollywood expansion because that sounds really cool. I'm excited for the Calico Rapids attraction. Mm-hmm. And I am excited for Jurassic World. Those are my top 3.
Why'd you pick those?
Why? Yeah. One, I really like water rides.
Yeah, you do. Especially the Rapids rides, jeez.
I really love the Rapids rides. Well, and I've always appreciated Knott's Rapids ride because out of the options that we've had in Southern California, it was definitely one of the best. I felt that it had a good middle ground of some theming, but still a little more thrill. I do love Grizzly River Run, but I feel like they could turn up the rapids part of that attraction, but it has right now the best theming. So I'm excited to see the theming upped for Knott's, and maybe it will become number 1 for our area.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll see. But I'm giving them that benefit to see what's going to...
Had you been on Roaring Rapids and Six Flags? Probably not in a long time.
In terms of the Rapids part, I felt that place had the best.
But it's just a boat in a tube.
Yeah.
Nothing super special.
No.
For mine, I'm going to say if I could visit any of these roller coaster places, and for certain, I'm very interested in Steel Curtain, the Pittsburgh Steelers ride. Very interested in that. But if I'm looking at rides that I can actually probably make it to this year, I would say the West Coast Racers at Six Flags, mostly because a trip to Six Flags is way overdue. And there's a couple of rides over there that I haven't been on the new version of Colossus yet. I haven't been on Green Lantern, but I hear that's very uncomfortable because it's like a pachinko ride. So that would be one of mine. I don't want to say Jurassic World, but I kind of want to say Jurassic World.
Why don't you want to say Jurassic World?
Because you said it. I'm trying to get a little...
Dinos.
No, because that means that we're going to see it already because that's something you want to do and I want to do what you want to do.
Okay. Well, I mean, we are married after all.
That's exactly why. We're going to do all these things. I'm interested to see what the Lego Movie World is. I found out about this because we found out about it last night, and Legoland being a kids to family park, I'm interested to see what these are. 3 new rides is a lot.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're going to be carnival style rides, just themed to Bricksburg stuff, I guess we'll find out. But I would like to think that Legoland will spend the money on a Lego franchise thing.
I'm pretty sure that they will.
Especially with the sequel coming out this year.
Yeah.
And if that works, then it'll probably make a transfer over to the California park as well. Maybe. So I'll say that. And then I think it's got to be Mickey's Runaway Railway for me. That I was so happy to finally go on the Great Movie Ride, but it was still like, okay. It was kind of like watching TCM in the middle of the day where you're like, this is good. I like this. But I think I love the new style of Mickey and Minnie cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
So having that be, I guess, immortalized for the time being and being injected into that world and be a part of that world looks like fun, especially since if the rumors are true and we're going to be getting one too, we'll be able to enjoy it a lot more often.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what from 2019 you're excited for by contacting us on Twitter at PartyOf2Pod. Make sure you leave us a review over on iTunes, Google Play, whatever your podcast distributor of choice is. You can find all of the places where you can listen to us at anchor.fm/partyoftwopod. And If you want to support us even further, you can sign up for financial subscriptions there. It would really help us out. We love you. We appreciate you. And I think that'll do it for this episode. We're not in any rush to get on any ride, but I mean, we got to start planning.
We do. We have all of these maps here, honey. We have to make decisions now.
Right now.
So
before we make those decisions, Andrea, where can the folks find you on Twitter?
You can find me at DoleWhipDrea on Twitter and on Instagram.
And you can find me at Mark B. Donica. You can check out all the other stuff that I do, too. I do a wrestling podcast called The Wrestling Professionals, and I talk about cartoons sometimes. But follow me on Twitter for all of the information about that. Follow us at Party of Two Pod. And tell your friends. We're trying to bring the family up. We're trying to have more than just 2 people. So let us know. Let us know if you're enjoying the show also by tagging us on Twitter. And we want to see your explorations into the various theme parks as well.
Please. And if there's also a topic that you'd like to hear us talk about, something that is interesting, whether it be in your neck of the woods or somewhere in another part of the world, anything at all, just let us know. And you can find us at so many different places.
At Party of Two Pod. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of Party of Two. We will see you on the next ride.